Every year it's the same. A face, a promise, a slow unraveling. Lyra used to keep count, used to write down their names in a little green notebook, as if naming the pain made it smaller. It didn't. Now she just remembers the echo, the feeling of silence where laughter used to live. She sat in the back corner of the classroom, fingers twisted in the hem of her sleeve, eyes fixed on nothing across the room. Mira laughed, a soft, sunny laugh that Lyra used to believe was only hers. She remembers the night Mira first said it. You're not like them. I see you, Lyra. I'm not going anywhere. She had cried then too, but that time they were happy tears. That time someone stayed, or so she thought. Poem, same sky. I gave you the stars and named after my scars, thinking you traced them gently, not tear the sky apart. You said you saw me, but did you? Or just the reflection of someone you thought you could fix? It started with a fight, not Lyra's fight, but somehow she was always the one holding the shattered glass. Mira and Ellen had been at each other's throats for weeks. Whispers in the hallways, passive aggressive posts, cold shoulders that used to be warm. The tension felt like walking barefoot on broken eggshells. Lyria had tried to stay neutral. She listened to Mira cry about Ellen's coldness, about how she felt used, tossed aside, and then she listened to Ellen, who said Mira was manipulative, always playing the victim. Both stories felt real. Both friends were hurting, and Lyria, she loved them both. She made a group chat, tried to bring them together, thought maybe if they just talked, it could go back to how it used to be. Instead, it exploded. Words flew like knives, accusations, secrets, mockery. Miria said things Lyra never thought she could, and then she turned to Lyra. You knew how she was, and you still tried bringing her into my space? Lyria's voice cracked. I was just trying to help. I thought, keep them. They'll be useful to you. I don't want to know someone like you. And just like that, Lyria was exiled from her own heart. Mira walked away, laughing with someone new, like Lyra had never mattered. Poem, Meditator's Blade 2. I stood between storms with empty hands, trying to hold back the thunder, but lightning loves the innocent. And I was struck for trying to keep the sky from splitting into two. The hallway was quiet, but not in a peaceful way. It was the kind of silence that follows an explosion. Dust still in the air, ears ringing, hearts cracked wide open. Lyra didn't remember walking away. She only remembered the feeling, heavy legs, blurry visions, tears she refused to let fall until the bathroom door clicked shut behind her. She stared at her reflection like it belonged to someone else, a girl with swollen eyes, trembling lips, and a heart she couldn't carry anymore. I don't want to know someone like you. Why did those wo- Why did those words hurt more than any insult she'd ever been called? Why did it feel like her entire identity had been rewritten in one sentence? She gripped the edge of the sink, her chest heaved as the sobs came. Quiet at first, then violent. She pressed her hand over her mouth to stop the sound, because what if someone heard? What if they saw her like this? But part of her didn't care anymore, because Mira saw her like this once, broken, afraid, honest, and Mira had promised to stay. Poem, her promise. You said you'd stay, that you weren't like them, that forever was a word you believed in. But forever came and went, and so did you. Now I sit with your ghost, wishing it would haunt me less kindly. Before the fights, before the cold words and broken trust, there was moments Lyria held like pressed flowers, fragile, beautiful, dead. She remembered a sleepover in Miriam's room. They lay side by on the floor, staring at glow in the dark. Stars stuck to the ceiling. Miriam's voice was soft, drowsy. I used to be scared of being alone. Lyra turned her head, whispering, Me too. But I'm not anymore. Mira had smiled, brushing a strand of hair from Lyra's forehead. Not with you around, you're my home. Lyra had caught those words like a child gripping a nightlight in the dark. She thought about the little notes they used to pass during class, the photos, the nicknames, the playlist titled Forever. God, what a joke that word had become. Poem Forever in Ink. You wrote me into your life like a favorite song, played me loud, sang along. But even favorite songs get skipped eventually, and I guess I was just your background melody. She slid down the bathroom hall, knees pulled to her chest, arms tightly around herself. It was cruel how quiet the world had become without Miriam in it, but even crueler how much louder Miriam's laughter felt, now that it belongs to someone else. Every year the face changes, but the story stays the same. It started in sixth grade with Haley. Haley is the one who sat next to Lyra in every class, the one who laughed at her jokes, shared snacks at lunch, and whispered secrets under the bleachers. Haley was the first person who made Lyra believe that maybe, just maybe, people could stay. We'll be best friends, Haley promised, eyes wide and bright. I'll never leave you. But that was the year Haley joined the popular girls, the ones who wore matching friendship bracelets and giggled behind Lyra's back. By the end of the year, Haley barely spoke to her. It happened again in seventh grade with Chloe. Chloe was the girl who didn't mind being different. She listens to music Lyra liked, and they traded books and stories after school. Chloe had this way of making Lyra feel like she wasn't alone in the world. I'll always have your back, Chloe said, her hand on Lyra's shoulder. No matter what happens, we'll stick together. By the end of the year, Chloe had found a new friend group of friends, and Lyra was nothing more than a distant memory. Then came Jenna in 8th grade, and Lyra thought maybe this time will be different. She thought Jenna was the one who would finally stay. They talked about their futures, about being writers together. They shared dreams and promises, things that made Lyra believe in forever. I won't go anywhere, Jenna had said. We'll always be here for each other. But Jenna too drifted. She found new friends and the texts stopped. Jenna stopped showing up at their old hangout spot, leaving Lyra, wondering what had happened to the girl who swore she'd never leave. Miriam was supposed to be different. She promised she was, but every year the same pattern repeated itself. The girl who swore to never leave always left. Poem, the same wound. It's always the same, a new face, a new name. But the wound never heals. You crave your promises into my skin and leave me with scars that I have to learn to live with. Lyra hated herself for being surprised. She should have known better. She always did. But every time she hoped, every year she thought, maybe this time will be different. Maybe this time they'll stay. But no one ever did, not truly. She stared at her phone, the screen blank, her thumb hovering over Mira's name. But she knew what would happen if she reached out. Mira would ignore her. Mira would smile and turn away just like every other friend who left. Mira dropped her phone on the sink. The cycle had started again, and no matter how hard she tried to break it, it never stopped. Lyria's room felt colder than usual, even though it was just the beginning of fall. The window was open slightly, letting in a faint breeze that didn't reach her. She had a blanket wrapped around her shoulders, but it did nothing to stop the shivers that ran through her every time she thought of Mira. She hadn't left the house much in the past few days. The silence in her room pressed on her like a weight. It was always like this after betrayal, like she was carrying something heavy in her chest, but no matter how hard she tried to ignore it, the thoughts of Mira kept creeping in. Keep them, they'll be useful to you. I don't want to know someone like you. She couldn't get those words out of her head. The sting was still fresh, even though she told her that she'd been here before, that she knew how it would end. Hearing it from Mira felt different. Mira had promised her she wouldn't leave. She had sworn it, but every year there was a new phrase, a new promise, a new way to break Lyra's heart. She pulled her phone back out, scrolled through the messages with Mira, the ones they'd sent late at night when everything felt easy and light. They sent late night. Mira had said she'd always be there, that they would write together, share their dreams. We're going to make it, Lyra, together. But that felt so far away now. She typed the message, her fingers hovered over the keys. She was so close to sending it, to just asking why. But what would that change? Would Mira even answer? Instead, she deleted the message. She was so tired of hoping. Poem, Hope's Heavy Cost. I carry hope like a stone in my chest, heavy, unwielding, impossible to rest. It pulls me down when I try to breathe, keeps me awake in the night with grieves. But every year I pick it up again, like it's a promise, like it's a friend. Lyra leaned back against her bed, her eyes closed, the weight of every year pressing on her. It was the same story, different people, different faces, about the same wound. Every year, every year, she tried to stitch herself back together, only for it to fall apart again. She was done trying, done hoping, but then she remembered something Mira had said. Something Lyra hadn't let herself forget, even as the pain took hold. I'm different, Lyra. I'm going to stay. And for a second she wondered if maybe, just maybe, Mira had meant it when she said it. But even the thought slipped away. Lyra couldn't hold on to it anymore. The words didn't mean anything. They never did. Lyria's phone sat in front of her, untouched for hours. The notifications had come and gone, but she couldn't bring herself to look at them. They were just reminders of how everyone was moving on without her, how Mira was laughing with someone else, how Chloe was out with new friends, how Jean had already forgotten. The world outside her window felt so far away. It felt like everyone was living lives she wasn't a part of it. Lives where the pain wasn't always there, where things like promises didn't get shattered every year. She was exhausted. Exhausted from the cycle, exhausted from caring when no one else seemed to. The worst part? She didn't know how to stop caring, even as the hurt twisted around her heart. She still wanted to reach out. She still wanted to believe that maybe, just maybe, Mira would be different. But that was a lie she'd been telling herself for years. The same lie over and over. Poem: The Lie We Tell. I keep telling myself that one day someone will say, that maybe this time they'll mean it when they say, I won't leave you. But I've learned the hard way that promises are just words we're told to believe until they break us into two. She closed her eyes, letting the fears fall freely now, no longer trying to hold them back. She was tired to fight anymore. Maybe it was easier to just accept that people leave. That's what they always did, but it didn't stop the ache in her chest. It didn't stop the feeling of being invisible. It was late that night when Lyra stood up, her feet dragging across the cold wooden floor. She felt like a stranger in her own room, in her own skin. The cycle had played out the same way for so long, betrayal, loss, and silence, but tonight felt different. Maybe it was the exhaustion, maybe it was the weight of every promise that had been broken, or maybe, just maybe, she was finally tired of playing the part of the girl who waited for someone to stay. She was done. She grabbed her journal from the nightstand and opened it to the last page. It was full of messy, unfinished thoughts, words she hadn't dared to share with anyone, dreams that had never come true, promises that had turned to dust. She held the pen in her hand, feeling the familiar weight of it, but for the first time, the words felt heavy. They had always been her escape, but now she didn't know if writing would save her anymore. She thought about Mira and how Mira looked at her with eyes full of lies, smiling with that other friend as if the girl who used to care was nothing but a ghost. And then something inside Lyra snapped. A realization, sharp and painful. No one is coming to save me. Poem: The Last Promise. I used to write for you, hoping you'd read the words that bled from my soul, but no one reads the quiet letters of a heart that's been left in the dark. I'll stop writing for you now, because I can't keep waiting for you to come back. Lyra slammed the journal shut, the sound echoing in the stillness of the room. She didn't care anymore. Their promises were just words. She would stop waiting, she would stop hoping for something that was never meant to be. She stepped towards the door, ready to face the world beyond her room, the world where no one cared if she cried or if she bled, but this time she was going to face it alone. The cool air hit Lyra's face as soon as she stepped outside. The streets were quiet, the kind of quiet that felt heavy, like the world was holding its breath. She pulled her jacket tighter around herself as if the fabric could protect her from the storm brewing inside. She didn't know where she was going, but it didn't matter. The night stretched out before her, endless like the feeling of being stuck in a loop. Only this time she was choosing to walk away from it. No more waiting for someone who wouldn't show up. No more expecting the cycle of betrayal to break. She was going to move on, even if it meant doing it alone. The lights from the street lamp cast long shadows, and Lyria walked, one foot in front of the other, each step taking her further away from the pain. She passed the park where she and Mira used to sit, talking about everything and nothing, imagining futures that felt so real back then. Now, that place felt like a different life, a life that no longer belonged to her. Lyra stopped for a moment and looked up at the sky. The stars were scattered across the sky, across the dark canvas above, distant and cold. But something inside her stirred. A quiet spark of defiance. She wasn't going to be like the others. She wasn't going to fade into the background, forgotten. She had dreams of her own, and no one could take those away from her. She had her words, she had her stories, she had herself. Poem Fading Stars. I used to think the stars were too far, too ever to touch. But now I know they are just flickers of hope in a sky that never promises to stay. I'll reach for them anyway, but even if I never quit make it. If I never quite make it. Because I'm done waiting for someone to tell me I can. As she continued walking, the weight on her chest began to lift, even if it was just a little. It wasn't easy, it wouldn't be easy, but Lyria was done being the girl who waited for others to stay. She had her own life to live. The road ahead was uncertain, but for the first time in a long time, in a long while, she felt like she could walk it on her own.